It's strange, isn't it? How sometimes the less you care, the better you play. You walk on court one day half tired, no expectations, even using a broken string, and somehow you're hitting the cleanest balls of your entire life. But the next day, you're fired up, locked in, and you're desperate to play well just like the previous day, but you can't even keep a rally going for more than 5 shots. Sometimes it feels backwards, like the more effort you put in, it should equal better results, but in tennis, it rarely does. That's the paradox. The harder you try to play your best, the tighter you get. The more you want control, the less you can actually have it. And that's exactly what Timothy Gallwey explores in The Inner Game of Tennis. The idea that our biggest opponent isn't even across our net, but it's in our own head. This video isn't about playing lazy or giving up. It's about something a lot subtler. It's learning how to not try so hard that you can unlock a level of performance you didn't even know you had. Because when you stop forcing, you can actually finally start playing. You've probably had that moment in practice when you tell yourself, I'm gonna focus this time, no mistakes. And for about 3 points, it does work. Your feet are moving, you're locked in, but then that one easy forehand drifts slightly long, and suddenly you're spiraling out of control. You start swinging tighter, thinking harder, and trying to correct everything that's gone wrong. But the more you try to fix it, the worse it gets. The swing feels robotic, the contact point disappears, and you're not playing tennis anymore, but you're performing surgery on your own game while it's still moving. That's the trap of overtrying. It's the belief that effort alone can force results, but in the inner game of tennis, Gallwey calls this interference. The conscious mind tries to take over, and in doing so, it blocks the body, the part that actually knows how to hit the ball, from doing its job. So think about it, when you're playing your best, it doesn't really feel like effort, does it? You're not telling your wrist when to snap or your elbow when to bend, you're just reacting to whatever the ball does. And when you start trying, you're no longer trusting, but you're judging, analysing, and doubting. That's why so many players, even junior level ones, hit better in practice than in matches, because the moment it matters, they just start caring way too much. They grip their racket tighter, they think faster, and they forget how to simply hit a ball. Gallwey explains it like this: each player has 2 selves. Self 1, the thinker, their critic, and the voice that says don't miss. And self 2, the doer, the one that actually swings the racket. When you shank a forehand, self 1 immediately steps in and says keep your head still, shorten your backswing, and bend your knees. And while it does sound helpful in the moment, what's really happening is interference. Self 1 doesn't trust Self 2 to perform, so it micromanages every single moment. But Self 2 already knows what to do. You've hit thousands of balls before, your body has built that memory. Your problem isn't mechanics, it's your mind getting in the way of everything you're trying to do. Think about someone like Roger Federer. He doesn't step into a second serve thinking about pronation angles or shoulder rotation. He trusts the work that he's already done a million times before. That's why his motion looks effortless. Not because he's not trying, but because he's just not thinking. Djokovic once said, when he's in the zone, he feels like he's observing himself play. That's your second self in action. You're no longer forcing shots, but you're watching them all unfold. For club and junior players, this is where things get tricky because coaches, parents, and even YouTube tutorials flood you with technical reminders. They're all useful, but only in practice, not in the real performance. In matches, constant instruction from Self 1 is like static noise. It just keeps going on and on about something you've already done before, and it drowns out the rhythm your body's trying to find. The key is just learning when to let go. So let's get one thing extremely straight. Not caring doesn't mean giving up. It means releasing the obsession with outcomes. Each tennis player has had that one day where they played out of their mind simply because they didn't care. Maybe it's because they're losing the first set 6-love. Maybe it was on the day you were tired or frustrated or just fed up in general. And sometimes your shots start landing. That's not luck, that's just the freedom. When you start caring about how you look, or what the score is, or whether the coach is watching, you allow your body to do what it already knows. Gallwey wrote, the greatest effort in sports come from when the mind is the quietest. Not empty, but quiet. You're fully present, but not forcing anything at all. That's why the phrase play loose gets thrown around so much, because looseness is just a physical expression of mental freedom. But when you care way too much, your body tightens to protect the ego. It's afraid of missing and afraid of embarrassment. Federer once said that he had to learn to play without the fear of losing. And if you've watched him late in matches, he's often smiling, even after errors. That's not arrogance, but it's just acceptance. He knows that tension kills timing, and the everyday player can take that same lesson. Next time you're love 40 down, don't try harder. Maybe just breathe, loosen your shoulders, and see what happens when you stop caring about the result. And you might even just surprise yourself. Everyone wants to get in the zone, but the funny thing is, you can't think your way into it. And time almost slows down. But the problem is, the moment you notice you're in the zone, it's immediately gone. Because now Self 1 is back whispering, don't lose it. That's why pros treat the flow state like a side effect, not a goal. They build habits that invite it, like consistent routines, clear focus points, and the acceptance of mistakes. Djokovic even talks about this all the time, saying, you can't play perfect tennis, but you can play with perfect attention. And that's what the flow really is. Full attention without a single bit of judgment. But for club players, this means simplifying your focus. Instead of thinking about swing mechanics, pick one cue, like the sound of a ball or the rhythm of your breathing. The less mental noise you can create, the easier it is to slip into the flow state. But just remember this, you can't force flow, but you can create the space for it to happen naturally. When you look at the top players, it's easy to assume they're giving maximum effort all the time. But if you really watch them, especially in pressure moments, you'll notice something else. They just look calm, their faces are blank, their breathing slowed, their body language is steady. That's not detachment, but it's control. They've learned that emotion and effort are not the same thing. Galway would say that elite players have trained their self 2 so well it no longer needs supervision. So when pressure hits, they don't start trying harder. They trust what's already been built, like Rafael Nadal. Before matches, he's intense, but once he's playing, it's repetition and rhythm. No overthinking, no panic. Every point is the same process. Compare that to a talented junior player chasing perfection. They overhit, argue with themselves, and overanalyze each single point. The difference isn't talent though, it's trust. And that's what separates those who play well from those who compete well. Playing well is physical. Competing well is all mental. Even Kyrgios, as chaotic as he may seem, plays his best when he stops caring about what people think. If you remember his run at Wimbledon 2022, he said after one match, I just don't care anymore, I'm having fun. And suddenly, his serve percentages rose, his unforced errors dropped, and his focus sharpened. That's not confidence, but that's the paradox at work. The less you fight yourself, the more you unlock what's already been there. So how can anyone really apply this? First, stop giving yourself feedback mid-point. You can't think and react at the same time. If you miss, just let it go. Save the analysis for later. Secondly, watch the ball and not your stroke. Galway used to tell players to see the seams of the ball. It forces your mind to stay external, not self-conscious. And thirdly, accept errors immediately. They're not personal, they're data. The faster you move on, the quieter your first self becomes. Fourthly, use relaxed body language. Your body mirrors your mind. Shoulders tight, mind tense, keep your posture loose even after a double fault. Lastly, experiment with silent hitting. No talking, no thinking, just rally for 5 minutes, purely focusing on the ball. You'll actually be surprised how good your timing becomes when you just stop controlling it. For players aiming to go pro though, the same principles just scale up 10 times higher. In high level matches, confidence isn't built from pumping yourself up, but it's built from trusting your habits. Training should be where you fix things, and matches are where you let your solutions happen. The best athletes don't just try harder under pressure, but they simplify, they trust, and they allow what's been built for years prior. At its core, the inner game of tennis isn't just about sport, but it's about attention and how to direct it and protect it. Galway once said, when we learn to trust ourselves, we cease to interfere with our own potential. And that's the heart of it. Not trying isn't laziness, it's more confidence than anything else really. It's the quiet belief that your body knows what to do and your mind doesn't need to shout instructions every single second. Just imagine your coach constantly telling you what to improve after you've hit a shot. You will not be able to get in that flow state and you're not even going to be able to concentrate. For the everyday player, that means playing more freely. Not because you don't care, but because you care in the right way. You stop chasing control and start finding rhythm. You stop judging and you start observing. And for those dreaming to go pro, the sooner you learn that performance isn't about effort, but about trust, the quicker you grow. Because real mastery doesn't come from trying harder, but it comes from letting your best self play. And your best self, at the end of the day, is just the confidence of your first self and your second self. I appreciate you guys watching so much. It would mean a lot if you liked and subscribed, and join my private tennis Discord in the pinned comment below.